So they'll be calling you a radical. This is real important video. I probably should flip the camera around. And we'll do it this way. So I got a call last night from a French scientist, and he spoke pretty good English, but I says, you can carry on in French. I can understand French pretty well. Anyway, he says that he's one of the universities in France, and he's studying. He says, your theory, Kevin Blanch. He says, it's your theory, you know, your Fuktonium theory. And he says he's studying it in his lab, and he's working on it. And he says, I think I can prove that your theory is 100% correct, that all this is what you call Fuktonium, is a synergistic effect. And I want all you 5Gers to understand, oh yeah, you're on it. That's part of this. It's bioclean, but nothing matches Fukushima. And so the tide pool, he says, your tide pool work, your salmon thesis, that it's a smoking unarguable proof. And then he went on to say that he believes that the coronavirus is exactly what I say. It's a mutation from the sea. And I says, well, where do you think it ends? And he says, it's not going to end for a while. He says, it'll knock down, reboot up. Now, I want to say this to all you people who think the economy here in Utah, because the Trumpers are going crazy, waving flags. And I says, look up in those skies. Look up in those beautiful, crystal blue, there's no chemtrails. The number one part of the economy in the United States is tourism. There's no fucking tourism. Until I see fucking planes flying in there, and the stock market continues to rise. I don't know how it's even possible, how it continues to fucking rise. This economy is fucking getting ate. Now, I've never agreed with this response. I never agreed with throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So, this thing's not, now get this in Utah. Now, I want to talk about this as the research PhD, my ongoing PhD. I want to talk about this. So the state of Utah is so corrupt, this is circling around that there's this drug for malaria that works on coronavirus. Not only does it not work, and I'm so sick of you armchair doctors. I had AML leukemia. I'm glad I didn't listen to you fuckheads. You know, I used both. I used holistic healing, and I was in a bone marrow transplant. I got the living bejesus chemoed out of me. Hardcore. It's my only hope. I'm alive. And I saw these people. It's like, run for the cure, Rick Simpson. That's the biggest snake oil salesman in history. Why would you not use both? Which I have. I did not have a bone marrow transplant center. I did not have a transplant. Now, I just got a call from Light the Night in Laguna and in San Diego. So this is for my friends in San Diego. The Light the Night who's here in Utah. I'm like, it's pathetic who the speakers you have up. We have some of the most famous cases in the world, including myself, Marshall Jensen. You know, you put all these, you know, and I get it, but there's people that show up to these events that are fighting for their life. They need to hear hope of stories like ours. And so I've been asked to speak at Light the Night in San Diego this year, which will be November 6th. And I says, oh, I'd love to, you know, and we talked about sending an offer. So I think there's a lot of people, they've had time. They're getting on the internet. They're starting to appreciate Kevin Blanch's work, finally. So this is not, so this drug, this is how corrupt the state, and you don't believe me, the state of Utah is so corrupt, and I'm shooting this in front of the Stewart Library because they won't let me in, but we have a really solar booth here. Remember we used to hear that noise? It's nice. It's got a little plug-in. There's nobody on the campus. A few people, you know, the landscapers are working, which we love those guys. They do great work. And so, of course, the fake PhDs are home with their feet up. They're not PhDs. High noon. Let's count it down. So, Utah's corruption is over the top. Now, I wear my mask in public. Of course, I've been doing that for 8 years, as you know. Not because of me. I'm not worried about me. My grandchildren, of course, I love my grandchildren. I love my elderly friends. You know, my uncle's 85, my other uncle's 86. My auntie's 91, you know. I care about them. I really care about them. I care about people that have cancer. Birthday, 50 years old, straight downhill. Two. Utah's bought millions of dollars worth of this dose from a company that makes it in Utah. It's so corrupt. Dirty Herbie, Dirty Governor Herbert, is the dirtiest. I mean, he's a criminal. I mean, these people are criminals. KSL is a terrorist organization. You know, the way they promote that. KSL today, they had on the radio, and he's talking about Earth Day was started as this peaceful. No, it wasn't. Earth Day was started on an anti-nuclear energy movement, and people had it. They had it, and it was radical. Do not kid yourself. But America was, you know, they were pissed. They weren't going to take it anymore. When it's end, he says, it was not like the Vietnam protest, which was all hippie. No, Vietnam protest was very contemporized. Was American, I mean, had nothing to do with hippies. It was young men with freaking draft cards. They weren't about to go. And so the whole world embraced it. So that's the greenwashers. In Utah, it's so criminal. Now, I want you to think about this. I have some of the best doctors in the world. If you don't believe me, you don't know shit. You haven't followed along. AML, leukemia, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, de novo. The survival rate, less than 1/10 of 1%. Well, it's probably 1,000th of 1%. That's a John Hopkins 1% survival bracelet. Open heart surgery 2 years ago. My gallbladder blew up on Earth Day. Open heart surgery. It's an unsurvivable disease. My doctors, I've talked to them. Well, that's the worst thing you can do is take this malaria. Do not do it. What it does, it masks the blood works. And that's exactly the silver that the Mormons promote. It's everything. I saw it in the bone marrow transplant over and over. People come in and argue with that. No. They're like, do not take these supplements. Please do not take these supplements. It's masking the blood works. We cannot get the proper read. Oh, no, I'm doing good. I'm not going to do that. And then they're dead within. I mean, I saw hundreds of them. Yay, they're dead. And the Mormon church has turned into a terrorist organization. KSL is owned by the Mormon church. They're promoting terror. I mean, they promote war, death, everything the opposite of Jesus Christ. So they've bought 200,000 doses from a Utah. It's an inside deal, just like everything is here. It's a club. You know, when Huntsman becomes governor, and I'm in his ear, we're talking. I think there's going to be some heads roll. I think there's going to be a major FBI investigation into the state of Utah. This county commissioner, Megadary, Governor Herbert. I think there's been so much corruption here in the last few years, missing federal grant money. If you don't believe me, look at the penal system grant. It was a guy inside the prison that exposed they were stealing that. There's been so much corruption here in the last few years I mean, it's over the top. And Dirty Herbie's thing, you know, we got this county commissioner who drained off the marsh, stole $20 million. We can't even see. Under the Freedom of Information Act in the state of Utah, you get to see the police investigation. He sued to block it. I mean, the whole play. Lied about his college degrees. My Ph.D. is ongoing, as you know, probably the greatest Ph.D. in history, which I had to turn to public funding because this institution it's corrupt. I mean, the state's corrupt. The country's corrupt, but the armchair, I'm so sick of these people. You know, am I lying to these fucking people that promote shit all over in the name of whether it be Obamacans or Trumpettes? These fools. Where'd you get your fucking medical degree? I'm all about holistic healing. I use both. But don't fucking sit and ramrod shit like that. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Armchair doctors are the most dangerous people on fucking earth. They're the most dangerous fucking people on earth. You know, I loved how they were all Fukushima. Eli Jan, Mickey the Clown. I mean, there were hundreds of these vloggers and bloggers. Ackerman, all these fucking people all over, just all over. I look back, calling themselves free radicals. I mean, fuck, free radicals is a cancer cell. You know, the post-ignorance project. I'm authentic. I'm the real fucking deal. I love it. How they were all over this, and they're coming to me, blah, 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 trying to use me while I was full critical condition. And then as soon as Trump gets elected, they just run away. My theory is the election stealing, but the Fukushima people, it's like the Million Mass March. Zarty, the only reason they were covering it, would not interview me. I'm the guy that invented it. It was a Putin yeah, I think they all work for Putin. All of them. I think that whole group that, you know, were riding my back and whatever, because how is that possible? Fukushima, and then Fukushima's, Trump gets elected and they go away like it never happened. Oh, it happened. So my work's being vindicated. So I call it Fuktonium. You don't know what it is because it's never happened before. It's the greatest denial in human history. It's the greatest cover-up in human history. And I'm here in the middle of the most corrupt place on the face of the fucking earth. They sold off the radio signal. You know, they're selling off private property. I'll tell you why they're selling off private. They sold the D-Event Center parking lot for it. I'll tell you what. They inherited hundreds of millions of General Electric floor construction stock. I was on the endowment. Dr. Cooley died. We're the #1 school business in the United States. I begged them to get out. I said, it's overpriced. Jack Welch, one of the greatest criminals who ever lived, built one of the greatest Ponzi schemes in U.S. history. He's dead now. He wasn't that old. stock was 64, inherited for the people of this community. Left billions of dollars made off the nuclear industry. Mrs. Stewart left a half, that's named after her, the Stewart Library, the infamous D.B. Cooper, freaking Melvin Dumar, freaking Mark Hoffman, Edward Abbey. I can go off on and on and on. This is story. Her name's on there. She left in 1970. $500 million. Do the math. Earth Day 1970. Dave McNally hits a grand slam. Yeah. Big Red Machine, the average athlete in 1970 made less than 3 times the average American working class. Now they're billionaires. So they had all this money here. And I'm begging them to get out. You know, I burned my PhD. Well, it wasn't even an official PhD at the time I was working on it. You know, my MBA they took away from me. I mean, I had the first MBA in the history of school, and Dr. Cooley died. The #1 school business guy. Now they're Chinese. You know, maybe if that's where it came from. Maybe this virus, I mean, there's layers and layers to this story, but the foundation is the meltdowns of Fukushima, Japan. This university, Waters Construction, Floor Construction, GE built the reactors of Fukushima, Japan. It's well documented they cheated. I've been here my whole life. I shook Bobby Kennedy's hand right over there in 1968, right before he was killed. The science lab's named after my 8th grade history teacher at Lawquist Junior High. He worked for GE's. I mean, this is the house that GE built. Her name's on the wall. The only football stadium in the country, the only sports stadium in the country named after a woman right here, the Stewart. You know, most corrupt football program in history has been turned around. Of course, now we can't play. So, the stock, geez, at what, $6? It's revisiting 666. Should be 0. But Trump keeps bailing them out. Trump, now it's being reported, has billions of dollars in fees on the ballot. $6 trillion. Do the math. Where's all this money coming from? I like it how the right was all about the balanced budget, until their God gets in there. He's looted this country harder than freaking Obama and Bush. I mean, you've turned everything to a political football game, so these stocks are bleeding down, and this Board of Regents at Weber State University is corrupt as hell. The Mormon Church is turned corrupt. Go talk to President Hansen. I know the heart surgeon. My Uncle Thomas, friends with him who saved my life. I know him personally, President Mark. He says the same, he sounds like me. He says this Mormon ink's got to go. He put back the blue Jesus with the long hair. They don't want to hear it. He's 96. These are not my words. These are not only that. These are Joseph Smith's words. Joseph Smith said that the Mormon Church would be bloodline to his son, and the people murdered him. And Fama K. Brody, right there. It's been well documented and proven. All men know my history. Where's a statue of her as 17-year-old professor at Weber State University? What? Female in the 1930s? How about the first dean of history in the United States? A woman? How come they're blackballed her? I mean, everybody agrees with everything she says. She proved that Brigham Young hijacked the Mormon Church. That's what these things do. She proved it. Joe Smith's documents prove it. And maybe I'll dig out. The salamander letter was found right in there. Now, was it a forgery or not? Hoffman's still alive, but I used to know him. I used to talk to him right there. I mean, I could write thousands of books. I'm a walking talk. Dr. Burroughs, who's 96, always says, Kevin, you're a walking talking encyclopedia. You need those books done. I'm working on it. He says, you've been saying that for 35 years, 40 now. You know, nobody will help me. I thank you for everybody's this support, but this place is corrupt as hell. This is the nuclear industry. I'm in the belly of the beast. Literally in the belly of the beast. And you're giving plant a tree, plant the nuclear industry, plant the greenwashing industry, plant Bayer Monsanto, plant them 6 feet fucking under. You know, this greenwashing's got to go. Fukushima is the greatest ecological catastrophe in human history. And, you know, you can hear, okay, there's no planes, right? I lied, didn't I? Yep. What's that? All day, every day. Day and night. The F-35. You want to talk corruption. Remember when the one crashed? The Japanese plane crashed, pilot crashed it, and China got it? Yeah. You know how corrupt Hill Air Force Base is? How corrupt this whole military be? Look at the debt. Where's all this money going to come from? Tax the future. Get to my. This is another big. They never saw a loot job, and the economy just. You think? The underbelly of America is completely wiped out. I just talked to Tim Martin up in. The salmon numbers are historically collapsed and so historically grotesquely. There's no gill netting and fishing. They're even lower than last year. This is smoking gun of Fukushima. Me and the professor from France talked about this. He says, you're right on the salmon numbers. They're unarguable proof. He says, yeah, they can chalk up that tide pool collapse. Your tide pool He says, your tide pool work alone? I says, yeah, I had a Felder valve up there. He says, they're amazing. Yeah, historic low tides, flying there, sleeping a sleep bag, all up and down in the best tide pools in the coast. Hundreds of hours of footage. He says, I've been going through, I've went through them all. I've watched every one of them. It's incredible historical documentation. Yeah, and I got to do it with no money, in critical condition, with a Feldorfer valve. I'd open heart surgery, remember, through, and you don't know how dangerous that work is, you know. And so, 94. By the way, this tag that I wear, Olin Walker Foundation at Westview Elementary, on Earth Day, I remember we had a celebration there, 1970. My teacher then was Olin Walker, the female governor, who was by default. Mom, Mrs. Smith, was my second grade. She was my teacher then. I remember she gave me a little transistor radio because I'd sneak home to watch the baseball games. And when Dave McNally, he played here, and he played in the Pioneer League. He's from Billings, Montana. Hit a grand slam. I have that program and ticket. I've saved it my whole life. A guy gave it to me when I bought when I was, had money years ago. So, her sister was my first grade teacher. That's how I got to speak to Mike Lee. That's how I got to speak to, there you go. They're flying them all day, every day. Talk about corruption. That's how I got to speak to John Huntsman, because of the Olin Walker Foundation. They know I was friends with Olin. They know that I knew her mom and dad, T.O. Smith himself, the Secretary of Education. It's her dad. That's, the state's corrupt now. The state's corrupt. All men know my history, so my work's being vindicated. He says, you're all over it. And I says, you going to call it Fuktonium? He says, well, I've got to, don't I? I mean, if I don't, everybody's going to jump down my throat and say, no, Kevin Blanch. I mean, they're not going to turn me into Tesla in history. Or they're going to try. What they did to Tesla is beyond how fucking outrageous. Edison, what a dirtbag. What a fucking evil bastard. Remember when he used to electrocute the dogs to death with his AC/DC theory that his wasn't and was? And, who invented the solar panel? These are solar panels on this. This is a little gem. It works good. I got it plugged in. Tesla did. Look what they did to him. They're going to try to do it, but, the great equalizer was the internet, but who killed net neutrality? You used to go to the sidebar and there'd be 10 videos. I'd be all of them. The artist Kevin Blanch, you think about that. All these great artists that mentored me. Doyle Strong, Arthur Adelman, Jane Catlin. I was an art major here at 15 years old. I won a contest. I went to the peace vigils here. The anti-nom rallies here. They were contemporaries. Everybody participated, including the Special Forces Marine. This really beautiful, good-looking Special Forces Marine participated big time in the peace movement and the anti-nom movement. Who was that? That was my dad. My uncle, Omaha Beach, D-Day, famous, Harold Blanch. Look him up. Most so decorated. You stand up for that Pledge of Allegiance, I'll kick your ass. Oh, he participated in the peace vigil of the anti-nom. All those guys did. So KSL wants to panty paint her and try to change. It's planetary, fuck, all day. No planes in the sky, but the military-industrialist complex, boogeyman. That's one of the great loot jobs in American history. The Lockheed Martin F-35. Fuck, you want to talk a rip-off. And now they're ripping off all the money thrown at Wall Street. Pacific Ocean dies, stock market makes all-time highs. But he says, your work's paramount, Kevin Blanch. He says, it's incredible. And he says, my lab, I'm working on it. I'm using, what I can as far as the energy goes. And he says, finally, I believed in you and believed in you, Lee. He says, finally, the crowning jewel to your work, to me, was you saying the coronavirus was a mutation from Fukushima and radiation bioaccumulation, and it's the crowning jewel. It's the top of the heap. 5G, oh, absolutely. And he says, that's when I was like, sure. I was 90% sure in your work anyway, but he says, that one, you're all over this. It's the greatest ecological catastrophe in human history. My work will stand the test of time. Already has. Let's stop this on the bomb, 1945. Oh, we went over. We'll start at 2011. Yeah. No stairway to heaven, Kevin. Where'd you sleep last night? Don't you fucking lie to me. I slept in the dead fucking pines with the sun of Fukushima, Japan. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. Thank you, everybody, for supporting this historic PhD. Most important PhD probably in human history. Stay tuned.